The whole atmosphere of the school for the last few days has been based around Year 9 and the Guided Choices evening.
The students themselves need the opportunity to ask the questions in an informal setting. We have a system in school for all functions where every member of staff who's in charge of that has to write procedures. I mean, I've got my little box here, and this is just really the Guided Choices evening. It allows us any time of year to say, well, okay then, in January you should have started the process. Have we started the process? Yes, okay. What do you need to do?
You might decide to do performing dance as your one.
Start our first meeting, the team leaders for the subjects who have to do a small display on the evening in order to sell their subject to the students. I go into a lot of assemblies and speak to the students. I make sure the students realise it's a very serious evening for them and the choices they're making are very important. But at the same time, I also make them realise it's their event rather than an event for the school in terms of a teacher's event. The key to this evening is about us sharing information. It's about the students in the room and the parents finding out about what subjects are available for you to study in Key Stage 4.
Our assistant head, who's in charge of it, lets us know with a letter in the pigeonhole, and he usually then sets up an informal meeting with the team leader to talk about what he expects from that evening and what we're expecting from it as well in terms of displays, who we have to see, how many students we think we'll have to talk to, and from there it sort of evolves into what needs to happen on the evening itself.
A tick list is the best way of ensuring everything that should happen does happen. If you haven't got one, go to another school who held a similar event and they will have a similar checklist. And then I always do a walkthrough a few days before where I imagine I'm attending the event and I have a pad and I just go through and think, I'm a student and a parent, what would I expect to see? I then go back and do exactly the same with a member of the site management team. So if you do it twice, you always think of things. There's always something that you think, I could do that, and you add it to the procedures.
And choose out in A or C, 2 different groups, 2 different teachers, 2 rooms, 2 different times of the timetable, at the same course.
You need to think about all the people that the event impacts on. For example, yesterday I realised I hadn't asked the cleaners to prioritise where they were cleaning. Also meeting the site managers to ensure that the stage is in the right place, set up properly, the chairs are in the right place. I think them not wearing school uniform for the evening is something else that again sets a slightly less than formal atmosphere, but also businesslike. I do ensure I say to them, I want you to look very smart. Using prefects to welcome people, show them where to park. Again, when students see other students, they tend to relax themselves a little bit more. The staff spend a lot of time preparing displays, making sure that when students and parents go to these particular subjects, they are lively, they're informative and they're interesting.
We'll try and have some career-orientated posters up, and we'll put some of our props out, and we'll also put some of our practical bits and pieces out. We're running an audio-visual display as well this evening, so the children get to see roughly what they would be doing for their GCSE.
So then it's shampooing and conditioning. There's a right way and there's a wrong way. You shampoo your hair at home, whether it's right or wrong, we teach you how to do it properly.
They then have a week to go away and discuss with their parents, their carers, about what is the most appropriate choices for themselves. And then we have a day where the Year 9 students only come in for a meeting with their form tutor and they look at what are the choices they think they're going to make. And sometimes they've made unwise choices. We maybe try and guide them to making choices that would be more appropriate for themselves.
What is it you're interested in? Or are you more into the practical? Or what's your science like?
The Guided Choices evening is another opportunity for us to bond with parents, to slide in a few little things about progress about the students. So it's another opportunity for parents to feel that they're valued and for us to find out more information to have a better relationship, really. An awful lot of schools do school productions, and the amount of organisation is phenomenal. They need health and safety guidance, what was happening with the lighting and the rigging. They need the child protection issues, because if you're taking photographs there, children have a right to be protected. These are little things that you forget about. You've just got to make sure you've ticked every box.
The cycle of a school play tends to be a whole year. We start literally after one production's ended. The initial things that you have to do, you have to find out the availability of the licence. One of the school favourites, Grease, was unavailable for a couple of years because they were touring it, so they wouldn't even allow you to put it on.
Mr Bumble, face the audience. Can we not try and hit Oliver in the eye, please? If possible, we do need him.
I would say the minimum amount for a school play would be about £1,000, because you can find that the licence itself can be £300, £400, £500. What I did when I came to this school is I set up a performance budget, and we put on some smaller productions to start with, and put all of the ticket money into this budget. And once I had enough, that's when I decided 3 years ago to put on the first school play.
Bill, on your line, it's your business. Are we just screaming at it? It's your business. And then storm off.
To get students involved, what I always do is have posters up and ready for as soon as they come back after September. And I have the audition within 2 weeks of them coming back. You get a lot of students that turn up that are excited about the production but are unaware of the commitment. I have a very, very large chorus, because you are likely to lose a third very, very quickly once they realise the hard work. Parents have to be aware of the commitment, and have to have written permission from the parents so they're fully aware. Obviously then you need things like booking the hall, making sure that you have the available space to actually rehearse in, making sure you're aware of the actual calendar and how that will impact on the rehearsal schedule.
Now you're just looking at me. Luke, I want you to concentrate.
Within the 6 months of the rehearsal, you're obviously going to have highs and lows. The beginning is a great high, everyone's very, very excited. And then you sometimes find within the first few weeks, when they realise that maybe they're not all involved immediately, that you can have a bit of a lag. And then towards the end, things like possibly talking to them about costumes or props, or all of a sudden we'll lift them again. The stage has now gone up, getting someone involved in the lights. So all of the technical sides, all the glamour sides, just sort of, when there is a dip, throw something at them very, very quickly. And it will lift them.
Thank you.
But we do have a link with professional companies, and things like lighting and sound have been supported by professionals within their field who have then taught our students how to do it.
This time round, if something goes wrong, you go over it. I am not stopping at any point.
You need one person who has sole control over it and awareness of what's going on. So my role is director, producer, I look after the finances. But you do delegate, obviously, the music teacher or head of music will obviously deal with the music.
6 times of that.
We've had English teachers, science teachers that have worked on the dances, but you do need to have one person who has a clear overview of what's going on. I do attend a meeting with the senior team 2 or 3 weeks before the production to go through any of the sort of basic needs of the night, things like extra cleaning, because we use some of the classrooms as dressing rooms, refreshments that we may need, car parking issues. One of the people that's very, very important when you're putting on a school play is the site manager. They can obviously advise you on issues to do with health and safety, how many seats you need, fire regulations, as well as supporting you technically. It is a lot of work, a lot of commitment. You still have your everyday teaching to do, but you know what it's going to be like at the end. You know on that last night the cheers that are going to go up and the joy that they have. And it does. I mean, that's why we're here. So it does keep, the students do keep you going.
In a typical class, There'll be some children who excel at reading and others who find it difficult. So what actually makes children good readers or bad readers? Research has now shown that the way a child processes sound will determine how quickly it learns to read, with obvious consequences for the classroom. Some children who have difficulty learning to read also have problems detecting changes in rhythm. So rhythm is extremely important both in reading and indeed learning to process language generally. At Cambridge University, Professor Usha Goswami is one of the first people in the country to combine brain imaging experiments in an education research establishment, making the connection between how we process sounds and reading. Dr. Jenny Thompson is working with her on the underlying causes of dyslexia.
It's commonly thought that dyslexia is a visual problem looking at words on a page, but actually the research coming out now is suggesting it's probably more of an auditory problem. So it's linking those letters that you see on the page to sounds that you store in your head.
Here a simple rhythm is played to the child, which then changes very subtly.
What the child will be hearing is different sounds, and some of them will have strong beats and others will have weaker beats. And so we're looking at how the brain differentiates between the different types of sound.
The initial research was looking at the precursors of literacy. What makes people good or bad readers? Dyslexics are obviously at the extreme end of people with reading and writing difficulties, and so are useful for this kind of research. They have problems which cannot be put down to social factors or low intelligence.
There does seem to be a strong relationship between children's ability to hear rhythm in speech and their reading abilities.
Dr. Thompson visits children who help her with the reading research by carrying out computer-based listening games.
You're listening for the dinosaur that's making changing sounds.
The yellow one.
Okay. He was hearing two sets of sounds, one where the sounds were identical, and in one set the sounds were varying in loudness, so they were becoming louder and quieter, as happens in speech. And we were asking him to work out which set of sounds had this variation of loudness. We're hoping that through this research we can find key markers of dyslexia at a young age, so in children's ability to hear rhythms. But also it's just backing up reading instruction that teachers do. In early years, children play syllable clapping games and nursery rhymes. Our research is really showing that these kind of things are crucial to later reading development.
The results suggest that teaching reading and writing should place emphasis on rhyme and syllable level information, sounding out words. Playing music can help as well. For example, clapping out a rhythm in accompaniment to a nursery rhyme. Jack and Jill went up the hill. It allows the child to coordinate a natural rhythm which helps with reading and writing. Too much of it, of course, will eventually drive you daft, so don't overdo it.